Is Gio Reyna actually back? Big crowds came out for American playoff soccer, and should the USL follow suit with Major League Soccer's calendar change? That and more on a brand new edition here on Monday of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, where we dot the map of the American soccer landscape. My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and filling in for our radio soccer guy, Jason Davis, we have Dan Vaughn, Protagonist Soccer guy. Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kickaround, sir.
Rob, pleasure to be here, man. Looking forward to chatting about all the soccer that's going on this weekend.
Yeah, long time no see. We worked together a couple years back in the NISA days, post-pandemic days. So it's great that we are on the mission here together. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in early this morning. Shout out to our latest channel members, Matthew Basner and Zach Hines. Thank you so much for supporting Morning Kickaround. Be like those guys. If you don't want to necessarily commit just yet, hit subscribe as we go. We've crashed past 5,000 subscribers and always welcoming more. So anyway, you can support Morning Kickaround. Thank you so very much. We got lots to talk about today. A couple things have happened over the weekend and over the last few days. So we are going to talk to an international player about their experience of coming to the American soccer system and going back as professional player. We're going to discuss the topic: should USL switch over to Major League Soccer's groundbreaking decision to switch over the Euro calendar? But first, we got to talk about USL playoffs, new USL 2 teams in Texas, and that one Giovanni Reyna making a splash as he comes back to the men's national team. So hit subscribe as we go. Support the show. Let's go. Let's kick our day off with long balls here on Morning Kicker. Welcome on in. I'm Robert. He's Dan, in for Jason. The countdown to World Cup 2026 officially feels like it's on. 6 games to go for the men's national team until the big show. But on Saturday, the United States men's national team win 2-1 over Paraguay on Saturday in front of 17,000 at Subaru Park near Philadelphia. And look out now, but they are undefeated in 4 contests. Dan, before we dig into the individual players, your thoughts on this 2-1 win over the 39th ranked team in the world?
A win always feels good, right? Doesn't matter how it comes or how you get there, but if you're the team that comes out with 3 points, or I guess in a friendly, there's no points to be gotten, but it does feel good, and it does feel like there's a little bit of a streak starting to build here where the team seems to be playing well, and this is against World Cup talent at this point. Paraguay had qualified, so this is a good thing. I think that is in the end, that's what it comes down to.
I was happy to see that there was a crowd in the stands. You never know these days where the team picks to go and the ticket prices and all those shenanigans always seem to play a part into our conversations about the men's national team. But a nice full stadium, it's a stadium with some enthusiasm. And Gio Reyna in the starting lineup gets the goal scoring early, gets them excited. It led for a kind of an entertaining watch. Good precedent to start the game.
It really did. Absolutely. You love an early goal. It was a great play. The ball kind of was bouncing around the box and eventually he found his head and he put it in the goal, which is good for him. He doesn't have a lot of playing time in his league, so he was sharp and ready for it and played well all night, actually.
Yeah, our Jason Davis said that I think it was 60 minutes over the 2 games he predicted for Gio Reyna, but blowing the doors off that, getting 75 minutes. And I can't think of when the last time he played that many minutes was. The statistic of last time he's played a 90-minute match is pretty incredible. I think it's like before the last World Cup. So 75 minutes, a big deal for him. We'll see if we'll get any notes on him being injured or anything like that between now and the next game. Hopefully not, fingers crossed, because he does seem like he definitely added something to this game. But Give us your summary. That he wasn't the only good player on
He
Saturday.
wasn't. I agree though. Gio did look good, and I think that's been the sort of the running narrative that we've seen all over media over the last several days. Is his play, how he looked. He was dangerous. He was aggressive. He played well. He played a role in both goals, obviously. So probably your man of the match. I also thought Serginho Dest looked good. He's back, and so good to see him playing for the Crest. He looked dangerous the entire match. He helped out in defense, which is not his strength, but he did play well. And then, of course, Florian Balogun, who gets another goal, his third in as many games. He's played well and is very bought into Pochettino's system and looks to be the starter at the World Cup. So all of those players played well for the U.S. men's national team for sure.
Who else did you like? I had company over to the house, and I've been able to rewatch sections of it. And going forward, it was appealing on the eye. It was fun. They were hitting passes. There was some rotation. There was some movement, some energy. But obviously, right after United States go ahead, they concede, maybe showing some of the shortcomings of this squad.
I think that's true, but Almiron is a good player, and his work on that play to get that goal by with his crossing ability, he's a player that it really stands out for Paraguay, and I think will be significant for them as they go into the World Cup. So I'm not shocked that he played well or that he contributed to this. Thankfully, the U.S. was able to get the late in the second half a go ahead goal. I think that, I'm a fan also of the guys with, if you don't know, I'm from El Paso. So the guys with El Paso connections. So good to see Diego Luna get in, play well. I thought play well in the second half, had an impact on that last goal. His pressure is the reason why that ball was freed up and eventually was crossed into Balogun. And Ricardo Pepi got into the match, which I'm thrilled for that. He was out injured for most of this year. And so his sort of reemergence and getting in, I will say he was subbed late and did have a sitter that he probably should have converted. And that's kind of been Pepe's MO. Like when he comes in, he scores goals. And so it was somewhat surprising to see him come up short on that goal, but it was a great play by the goalkeeper. And Pepe may have a little bit of rust still coming in. I know he's finally working his way back into PSV's starting lineup. Maybe he's still kind of fighting with that, but he's the kind of player that can, if you give him the opportunity, he's going to find a way to be dangerous in front of the goal. And he was dangerous in this match, regardless of how short his time was. He's going to be fighting with Balogun, and I think he's clearly the number 2 striker on this lineup.
I like how the pool seems to have like a good amount of options for players that could put the ball in the back of the net. There's 5-6 players now that could have kind of all, depending on form and health, could all kind of be shuffled into that mix. So it's good to see there's some depth there. I am concerned though about that defensive end though. You commented on Almiron did really well, but would you be concerned or relieved? Paraguay only really made one golden opportunity, but they did score on it. So is that a good or a bad thing?
I think that we've had this problem with center backs, right? And it's continues to be a problem. It's terrifying that our lead center back is Tim Ream, which he's 1,000 years old and has to walk with a cane when he's playing, but somehow he continues to find a starting spot. I love Tim Ream. He's the old man on the team, but it's terrifying to think that that's who we're going into the World Cup with. He's somehow going to have an opportunity to play here. I thought Miles Robinson kind of fell asleep on the header goal for Paraguay. He just kind of let the ball get through and wasn't there. This has been a continuous problem where center backs get opportunities and then come up short. I mean, they're there, they're playing hard, they're just not preventing these sort of kind of stupid goals. This is a goal that once you go up early, the last thing you want to do is give up that lead super quick. I thought Robinson did not play especially well in this match. I don't mind him as a player, but it's just you would love to see one of these center backs really come in, take this position by the throat, and kind of run with it.
In the back, are we kind of just praying that Chris Richards is healthy when the big games come? I guess is kind of what we're looking at.
I think that's definitely what we're hoping for. Chris Richards is, he's the golden child, the one that we hope is going to make up for all of our shortcomings. But what's interesting is that Pochettino has talked about playing or has played in a 3-back set with the center backs, and so you need 3 good center backs back there, and I don't know that we have 3 good center backs right now. And going into the World Cup, it's a little bit dangerous for sure, unless we're hoping that we're going to outscore everyone with our talent up front. I don't know. Maybe that's the solution.
Going into the comments, I saw someone note the final few minutes, the argy-bargy that occurred at the end of the game. Any thoughts on that? I like that they cared enough to get dug in. I mean, it was silly what it actually was over, but it's good to see some spark.
I agree. When you watch that whole series of events, it clearly was a misunderstanding between the two players on whose ball it was, whose throwing it was. And so much ado about nothing in a friendly, right? Like in the end, this is just a friendly, but it was good to see the players show some spice, step up, because it was right in front of the Paraguay bench. They were all there. I guess in my mind, I would like to see the ref be a little bit more aggressive there. You can't have that kind of looseness where that many players can get on the field that weren't in the field to play at the point that the incident happened. But it is what it is. But yeah, good to see that's something we always love to see, is when the players will protect their teammate. And it certainly seemed like they jumped in as quickly as they could.
Yeah, a little bit of bite there at the end. And in general, I mean, United States made more chances than the other team. Maybe they're a little bit more clinical and they get a couple more. They definitely have that opportunity with the Pepe chance there at the end. He looked like me on a pickup game a little bit when, you get that one chance as the slow guy and
Yeah.
your feet are just a little too slow to get it in there. But
How dare you? How dare you?
They do it all again. Yeah, I mean, it's all levels, contextually speaking. But they go again, another game in this window, taking on the 15th ranked team in the world, Uruguay. Just real quick before we move on, is there any player that you specifically want to see that we didn't see much of on Saturday night?
I guess we have to see more of Gio, right? I think that aside from all of the talking heads talking about he needs to start now at the World Cup, the reality is that this is a player that had one great match for the U.S. men's national team, coming off a string of underperformance for his club teams. He's also a player that has I think you could say a toxic history with U.S. men's national team, and I think that there's a lot for him to prove. And it seems like the talking head class is already sold. They're already sold on this, and I think it's a little too early for that. I'd like to see him consistently perform. He's a player with a lot of talent, but who has issues with health and has issues with being a teammate. Both of those things are not good going to into a U.S. based World Cup where we're going to need every player to contribute, and I don't know if he deserves a roster spot at this point.
We'll see what happens. United States versus Uruguay on Tuesday night in Tampa. Hopefully they score some goals and we see a cannon shot from the pirate ship there in Tampa Bay for an American goal.
Would love that. Yeah, absolutely.
This weekend was big for American playoffs, and we have a new champion, Division III, the USL 1 final on Sunday evening. One Knoxville, undefeated at home throughout the regular season, and that continued at home in the final in front of 7,500 fans. One Knoxville, your USL 1 champ.
Yeah, I think this is great, right? One Knox is such a fun story. It's a team that really focused on branding and connection to the local community. Great to see them, put together a really overall complete season. They stepped up. They won. They were the best team in the regular season. They were the best team in the playoffs. We got a goal from Nico Rosamilia, easy for you to say. He sort of had a tap in right there. And then Kempes Tequila, who got the penalty kick in the 54th minute of the second half. 2-0 win in front of a home crowd. Easy as you like, and you love whenever you get a sellout crowd and then you perform well in front of them. That's a win all around for both the league, the team, and all the people in the stands.
I'll be honest, watching both this one Knoxville game and in the other playoff games in the other leagues, seeing these like formative moments, there's people celebrating these things for the first time. If you look in the stands, you're seeing foundational moments for people in their own lives, in their own fandoms, for the team. It's really remarkable. I mean, they haven't done this before. They won the league, and then so clearly the best team throughout the long season, and then they replicate that in the playoffs, in the final, in front of home fans. Really remarkable stuff, and kudos to them, and some memories some folks won't soon forget there. Moving over to Saturday's action, USL Championship, second division in American soccer. We got a final, but let's start with the matchups. Pittsburgh 1-0 over Rhode Island in a bit of a dogfight.
It was, and it is shocking how Pittsburgh has gone through this playoff run, because if you look back at their two previous matches, neither of them had a goal in regulation. Both of them went to penalties against Hartford and then Detroit City in the last round. It is wild that a team could go 5 halves without having a goal, and yet somehow they're in the final, but thanks to that goal in the second half of this win over Rhode Island. But you get there how you get there, right? This is when it comes to playoff soccer, it's single elimination, and as long as you're the one doing the eliminating and not getting eliminated, that's really what matters. But yeah, Pittsburgh gets the 1-0 win over Rhode Island. Rhode Island also is a monster team in the East. They're a good team, but they got the juice, I guess.
Yeah, definitely have the juice. And again, like my Knoxville comment, this is the first time that Pittsburgh Riverhound fans have seen their team at this stage and then go to a final. So they were having their own, foundational moments there along the river in Pittsburgh. And there was so much enthusiasm. And you saw people like really wilding out in the crowd. The crowd shots were awesome. I really loved that. I got to say, though, how has nobody found out what Bob Lilly did to be put on admin leave? Like he is a legacy coach in the town. So even if they I don't even know the local media in Pittsburgh, he's got to be a known entity of some sort just for his longevity's sake, even if they aren't, up in the same conversations as the Steelers and whatnot. But you think somebody would dig in, somebody would leak something, and I haven't heard a peep. It's pretty wild.
Sometimes lower league soccer in the United States benefits from the lack of a spotlight. Present company aside, obviously, but it's true that because of that, there are oftentimes things that happen that don't get, if this happened in MLS or if this happened in the Premier League, it would be, basically a scandal.
But I'll say Bruce Arena, similar type of situation that people didn't dug up enough time has transpired where people assume they know what happens, but there's no like rock hard evidence on them.
That's fair. No, I think you're right. I think that soccer front offices in the United States are careful about leaks. And for what it's worth, maybe it's the lack of sort of the fame of players that sort of keeps them silent so that they continue to operate within the system. I don't know, but for whatever reason, we don't know what happened with Lilly, but he's a legend of the game though, for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point about the players, and the amount of people with the information in order to leak and their leverage of the situation is like, if they're not an NFL wide receiver who can just spout off in the post-game pressers and just be,
still have a job.
Yeah, it's not like that. So congrats to Pittsburgh. And I was just thinking, how much of a thanks do you think Pittsburgh leadership is thanking Detroit? I'm curious if Pittsburgh would have been able to do the same sort of thing against Louisville for knocking off the top seed there. Granted, Pittsburgh and Detroit kind of played similarly. Maybe they could have done that too, but knocking off like the all-time season leaders, that the number 1 seed Louisville, maybe made their path easier here. I
think when you're a lower league soccer fan, you always root for Detroit to win. That's just how it works. That's the rules here. I guess unless you're a fan of one of these other championship teams. But yeah, without a doubt, their path was made a little easier by Detroit. But they struggled against Detroit too. It went to penalties with Detroit. They ended up winning 4-3 there. So it was a tight match against Detroit. So for what it's worth, Detroit was also looks like they could have won against Pittsburgh as well.
Going to the West, more of a top of the table battle on the Western Conference Final. Tulsa, the division winner or the conference winner, 3-0 win over New Mexico United. And it was really an early mistake by New Mexico that opened the door for Tulsa, and then they kind of just went from there.
It's interesting. Tulsa has not given up a goal across any of their playoffs matches so far. They've gone 3 matches without giving up a goal. They are a prime team. They were the 1 seed. Compared to the chaos of the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference is much more chalky. I mean, we talked about that a little bit before we started recording, and it is without a doubt, Tulsa is looking, got the goal scoring, got 3 goals in this match, went up early and ran it out, and now they are now going into a match with Pittsburgh, where they're the clear favorites, and it seems obvious they're going to be hosting and looking to get their first championship.
Shout out to MK Ultra. I just put his comment up a moment ago. Congrats to Tulsa Mario. He's been ride or die with his team. He came all the way out to Albuquerque, New Mexico from Tulsa when we were out there. Super supporter, and I love following along on the Morning Kickaround Discord server. Mario, thank you for updating with pictures. There's a picture of him literally rolling on the ground holding the trophy. So you get some sort of VIP status there if you let Mario get the hands on the trophy. And if you are a channel member, you would see those pictures of Tulsa Mario. And he said he's taken that trophy home. How you feel, Mario? Are you confident that you can take on Pittsburgh in that final for the USL Championship Cup winner? I'm not sure what they call it.
Robert, one thing I would like to say is that stories like Mario's is some of the best part of the championship. MLS, occasionally you'll get a supporter highlighted, but championship really connects to the fans, and those teams make it a point to try to highlight their stories and make them part of what's going on. I love that about championship, and this has been such a great run. We've seen great crowds. I'll be honest, I'm from the Southwest, so I probably would have been rooting for New Mexico here because El Paso got eliminated pretty early in this playoff. But, New Mexico is a fun team. They're also a team, I've been up there for matches, and they have a great crowd in that stadium. And this was just a match that Tulsa was ready for and looks to be the favorite going into this final.
I'm not 100% sure on the context here, but Soccer Night in Detroit says a conference which gave us the Great Western Pillow Fight may end up giving us a 5th straight title winner. I'm not sure if you know that reference or not. Are you talking about Saturday night, or is this something in the past that I need to learn about? I'm not quite sure, but next weekend it will be Pittsburgh versus Tulsa in the USL Championship final. We don't have too much time, but we should note NWSL, they have a final set. Washington Spirit beat Portland 2-0, and Gotham FC, they upset the favorites last weekend, and they got another win in the playoffs to get to the final, beating Orlando 1-0. Marta maybe saw the last of her again. We said goodbye to Marta about 19 times now, so we'll see. But it's good to see her back out there. Any thoughts on the NWSL semifinals in this final we have ahead of us next weekend?
I mean, it's interesting. Gotham FC is an 8 seed and yet managed to get all the way to the final. Jaden Shaw got that. I mean, if you saw that goal from Jaden Shaw at the very end of that match against Orlando, why not believe? Why not? I love that Trinity Rodman is working her way back into health. She got an appearance for Washington Spirit. So you want to see the big names when you get to that final. Hopefully both those players will be on the field. I feel like you got to root for, or you got to pick Washington here, but Gotham's a real impressive underdog to get all the way to the final, coming in from the 8th seed. As I remember, they qualified the last day of the regular season. So maybe just got that magic at the right time. The juice, as I said earlier.
Yeah, getting hot at the right time is what you need to win in the playoffs. So, in summary, congratulations to One Knox for winning USL League One. And then next weekend, we have USL Championship Final Tulsa versus Pittsburgh. And in NWSL, we have Washington versus Gotham. So exciting stuff remaining here in American soccer in the playoffs over there. Final long ball before we get to our long segments of the day. USL 2, the top amateur league in the American soccer system, has 9 new expansion teams coming aboard on 2026. Many new teams, some moving from other leagues, some being self-relegated into the division. But with Dan in the seat today, I want to talk about the 2 expansion teams in Texas both teams coming to USL2 from very different directions.
Yeah, Texoma coming down from USL League One. It's that story of American soccer where sometimes the amount of money required to be a competitor in a national league is challenging for anyone's bank accounts. And Texoma looks like they decided to take the step down to USL League Two, go amateur. Interestingly about that, they're going to be serving as the developmental arm for Rodeo SC, which is a new team that's coming into USL League One. That's interesting. I don't have the full story on how and why that came about, but that's part of it. And I think the other story in Texas is Lubbock Matadors, which is a team which was very successful. The NPSL is part of, if you don't know, welcome to Lower League Soccer talk. Michael Hitchcock, who is a former executive in MLS, but has sort of built an army of teams across the country who are known for being successful at connecting with their fans and also being successful on the field. You may have heard of the Annapolis Blues. That was a team that he was involved with forming. That team now plays in USL League Two. You may have heard of Appalachian State. Is that what they're called? No, not Appalachian State. Appalachian SC, I think is what they are. Fort Worth Vaqueros. These are all teams that he's had a hand in. Even the Denton Diablos, he's a part owner there. And Lubbock is a team that sort of put down roots in Lubbock quickly established a fan base and was drawing thousands of fans to their games and became a playoff contender really quickly. And now that team is jumping to USL League Two. I think Hitchcock is a smart operator, and I know that he's not the only owner here, so I want to be careful to say that, like, I'm not saying Hitchcock did this. I'm saying he's involved with that decision-making process. But if Hitchcock is jumping ranks from the NPSL and joining League Two, we may see even more of those teams make that jump and move over to League Two. And I think that's a big development, particularly with these teams that have big fan bases and have been competitive. USL League Two is benefiting from that for sure.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about Michael Hitchcock and his, army of amateur clubs he's got going on, you can search in the Morning Kickaround channel. We did have him on. It's a couple months ago now. It was about the time when Annapolis was getting 13,000 fans in the stands at the end of that summer amateur season. So the landscape always changing, especially at the grassroots level. So interesting to see what USL 2 looks like next year. And in between the college white paper and calendar shifts and all that, curious to see what the future holds for kind of the summer shorts amateur season. I wonder if any of those will affect it. I'm not sure if the pro game stuff does so much, but the college white paper recommendations, if adopted, certainly may change. I know you and I have an affinity for summer ball, but we shall see if the prospects for that change at all there. And then this might be a bit of a deeper question, but in Texas, it's a big state, but is there the nuance in the fan bases of those places to understand or care about all those different shifts between leagues, pro, amateur, NPSL, USL2? Will that matter to the people on the ground?
I think it will matter less than maybe we think. I think that when I look at a team like Laredo, Laredo Heat has been around for almost 10 years now and has sort of jumped between NPSL and USL League Two multiple times. And they're a team that continues to draw hundreds, if not thousands of fans in Laredo because they are the touch point for soccer there. And that's because the state is so big, which league you play in, I think is a little less important than it might be in other places because it's more about being the big draw in your little tiny city. Lubbock, outside obviously of college teams doesn't have a lot of other opportunities if you're a soccer fan. So you by default become a Matador fan. And I think that that's what you see a lot of times over the Texas map is the league might not matter as much as who you're rooting for on Saturday night.
Thanks for everyone for jumping into the comments here in the first half of the show. Love to see so many people getting their notes in there. We are only halfway through the show, so if you're enjoying it, hit subscribe. If you have a couple $1 dues, you can throw those into the kitty and become an MK Ultra channel member. I think we're getting near 100 channel members, so that's getting exciting. With your channel membership, you get priority commenting to the live streams, you get early access videos, bonus videos, and the Morning Kickaround Discord server, which the more people you get in there, the more conversations and the more great conversations you can participate in. Threads on there range from local to USL to pro rel conversations and national team and more. So get involved in there if you so wish, or just tell your friend about your favorite soccer show, Morning Kickaround. All right. We're going to switch it up. We are going to jump to a interview that Jason and I recorded with an international player from France, Mounir Boutarfa. He came over to the United States to play college soccer and experienced multiple seasons in USL 2. And with the college white paper that I discussed and the focus on internationals, are they benefiting the American college game? Are they hurting the domestic player? All that. So I thought I'd bring on an international player who had that experience and get his perspective on it in today's Hot Topic. So stick with us. We're going to talk to Mounir Boutarfa here on Morning. Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Robert, he's Jason. In the middle, our guest from the farthest fleet I think we've ever gone for Morning Kickaround, with lots of talk about updating the structure of American college soccer. We want to bring in an international flavor. We talk a lot about the domestic player and the influence that the internationals might have, but I wanted to get Mounir's perspective and some stories on how his opportunity to come from France came about, to come play in Michigan, across the Midwest, and then be able to return as a pro. Mounir, welcome on in, and thank you for joining us here on Morning Kickaround.
Thank you very much. Good morning, guys. I'm looking forward to talk to you about my experience.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that, Rob set it up very nicely, Mounir. The question of what brings a French player to America, particularly to play college soccer before you even begin your professional career as a footballer.
Yeah, exactly. Rob said it well. I mean, in France, when you're young, you want to play professional, you are in the academy and everything. And then when you arrive at, let's say, 18, 19, you don't sign professional. But on the side, you want as well to have some stuff about school going on, to have a degree and stuff. I think that's what is very important about the US and that we don't have in France, is being able to do both. So that's the main reason why I came to the US, is to have the opportunity to keep playing in a great level and to have the opportunity to have a diploma as a security, let's say. So that's how I came to the US to play college.
Well, how did that specifically, how did you end up where you ended up? And what was that like for you in terms of the culture and the adaptation?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, so when I was in France, we have a famous agency that is in a partnership with the federation. And when you are in the academy, they come to you, they explain you what is college soccer, university, because at first you don't understand really what is it, It doesn't make sense to you because, like I said, in France, you don't have this,
Right.
You ask, but it's university, it's club, it's school, And when I understand it well, in the same time, I had friends that went in the US that played NCAA first division, NCAA D1. So I said, okay, let's go. And I had a couple opportunity with D1 school, but with the COVID going on, it was really difficult time to come. And I had the chance to have one coach from Tiffin University that wanted to take me no matter what, no matter my English, no matter what. And yeah, when I came, I'm not gonna lie with the English. I remember I did one interview with Rob. My English wasn't that fluent. It was very difficult for me, the English part. But I liked it. I like the mentality. I like the fact that you can study and in the same time play sport in the same sport is really respected in the US and maybe a little bit less in France, So I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for relating that. And yes, your English is a million times better. It's been like 4 or 5 years now since we did that first interview. But I was curious, just for clarity, did you seek out that agency to learn about American college soccer, or did someone come find you out once you didn't sign that youth contract?
Yeah, no, they come while I'm in the academy, So they come, they present you, they explain you that it could be a possibility if in the next few years you get released from your academy, it could be a possibility to have both the school part and the football part. And when you are in academy, you see the first division of your club. You don't pay attention to what they are telling you. You are like, okay, maybe for some other people, but not for me, because me, I will sign professional. You are like this. But then when it's your turn to get released and you are in let's say amateur club in France, you are thinking, why not? Because in the same time I had the university in France, I had to run to go training. It was not like together, and that's why I was like, maybe going to the US makes sense, to go out of your comfort zone, to discover a new country, new culture. So I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it was the best and the biggest decision of my life to come to the US, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that opportunity for a player who's hitting that moment of decision, I imagine that's difficult to leave your culture. For you, a language barrier as well. But how did you find the football? How did you find the soccer when you got to the United States? And the standard, the training, a small college like Tiffin is that's a little different than D1, which you already mentioned. You might have had that opportunity.
Yes, to be honest, like I told you, like you said, I wanted a D1. So when a D2 came to me, I was like, D2 university, should I go and stuff like this? And at some point, it was COVID time. I said, you know what, let's go enjoy, and maybe it's my destiny, And because they were showing me a lot of interest, I went there, and like I said, it was the best decision of my life. Coach Rudy Brownwell, the assistant coach was Liam Davis, and everything was very good. I arrived, the locker room is clean, the facilities are amazing. We train early in the morning, so that could change from France very early. And it was springtime, so it was very cold. But I remember I was very surprised about how every player was committed, because in my head I was like, okay, they are students first, maybe, but they were very committed to the sport, to the team. And I really like this team bonding experience, let's say. When you are in academy or a club in France, it's like a shark world, you have to play, it's you or the other guy. When I arrived there, I found this brotherhood that I really, really liked it, and that stand out to me, And yes, training was hard, but training was good. And the level obviously was not as good as what I had in France, but it was not as bad as I thought, especially for a Division 2, because I mean, everyone is there to compete. It's young. Everyone is between, let's say, 18, 22, 23 years old. They are ready to compete. It's different football, long throw. Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Munir. That was
No
great.
problem.
I was just curious. You're coming from France, and Rob sort of mentioned this as we set up this conversation, that the college game, as we talk about reforming it, as the federation looks to maybe make it more useful for players in this country, one of the elements that is become very true is it's very international. So you were representative of that wave of players coming from specifically Europe. How international was the team you played for at Tiffin? How many players were from somewhere else rather than America?
Very international. Like, I don't remember the number, but if I speak about the starting 11, I remember having just one American in the starting 11. Most of them were on the bench, and they were good when they were coming in. But yeah, the starting players was from Spain, from Brazil, from Argentina, from France, from the world basically. And I really liked it as well. The experience, the fact that they were coming from everywhere. Some African players, one guy from Japan, and we were all together, with the American guys as well. Like, we were a team. We didn't have like one group of American, one group of European, and one group of African. It was like all team bonding. I'm saying this because, for example, now where I'm playing in Cyprus, you have sometimes this kind of like local players together, international players together, and I feel like in the university it's kind of different. It's really like a team. But on your point about the international college, yes, it was very international, Tiffin.
I'm curious, this might be difficult from your perspective, but what were some of the things that edged the international players over the domestic players within your squad? Was there some sort of a piece of their game that wasn't there that is probably there in the international players?
Yeah, I mean, when like the type of player that was there, for example, myself, we had one player from Spain that was coming from Espanyol Barcelona Academy, one guy from Italia that was coming from an academy as well, around Milan. I don't remember exactly, but it's players that basically received maybe the best formation as a young football player. Then they don't sign professional, but they still have this quality that maybe the player that was from US didn't get, So and I don't know, as a coach, when you have a lot of players and you have players that receive this kind of formation, maybe you trust them more easy. So I don't know. That's what I will think. But like I said, I was very surprised by the quality of some American players, because when you are in Europe, you heard like, okay, America is basketball, baseball, American football. First of all, they call it soccer, So you have all these things, and you arrive and you are like. But to be honest, I saw some very good players. I had one of my teammates in Tiffin. His name was Caleb Gibbons. He was an athlete. He was jumping higher than everybody, faster than everybody, and he could play other sports. That is something that is very different from France. In France, if you are good in football, you are only good in football. You cannot play basketball. You cannot play anything else. American guys, they are amazing in basketball, amazing in baseball, amazing in every sport. I don't know how you guys are doing this.
I think that's just I think about this a lot, Munir. That's just like, culturally, it's what you are given when you are the second you can do anything with a ball of any type, you're given that opportunity. I mean, I have a 4-year-old son, and obviously I love this game. I love our football, and I want him to play, and he has balls all over the house, but he sees baseball on television and wants to play baseball. He's never going to play American football because I don't want him to run into people, but basketball and all these things, they're just, they're what we teach because it's part of our culture. And that's the case in France, right? The thing that is most important, unless you're Victor Wembanyama, you are going to be kicking a soccer ball.
Exactly. No, you said it better. I think it's culture. And in my time, I'm 26 years old now. Social media and stuff was less important than right now. What we had as a kid is take your bike, you go to the football field and you play. If the field is not available, you go to the grass and you play you put your coat, your coat on the side, and you play just a game like this, and you do this all day, So I think, like you said, it's culture.
So you started your journey. You didn't. You were at a decisive moment when your late teen years in France. You've come to Tiffin, then you played for a couple of different USL teams. Kind of what was that part of the journey coming from the United States, then trying to integrate into a professional career then?
Yes. One of the main reasons for me coming to the US was to find myself back, like I said, go out of my comfort zone. But I had dreams to make it professional there, because I saw some players that go there, play very good in college, and then have opportunity with draft and all these things. So I was like, why not me? I will work and we will see. So even when I was playing USL 2 at the time, it was very serious for me. Like, I really wanted to play good and show my skills to some clubs around. So I remember playing for Oakland County. That was an amazing experience. I met some great people there, Luke, yourself, everyone. And then the next year I went to play for Little Rock Rangers. That was amazing as well. A lot of fans, big stadium. I really enjoyed it. And I think most of the year I played good, but I didn't stand out. I'm not a player that have a lot of statistics, goals and assists. So I didn't receive any message from club and stuff. And my last year with Stephen, we won the league, but then in playoff it was really complicated. So I was like, you know what? I will try to reach out to clubs, to agents, and see. And my agency found me a combine in San Jose Earthquakes. So I went there for a week to try out with the MLS Next team, I think. Yes. And then straight after, an agent found me a trial in Minnesota United. So I did this kind of 2 experiences. That was great. And to my point before, that's where I saw as well that American soccer has quality. Like, honestly, I was very surprised with the intensity of those players. So they were MLS Next players, very young, very athletic. But yeah, no opportunity. So I didn't have the chance to sign. And I came back to France. I took time to really analyze what I'm going to do and stuff. And I had this opportunity in Andorra, as you know, Rob. And I signed professional there. One great year then. That opened me a lot of opportunities in Europe. And I ended up in Cyprus. I signed in Cyprus last year, and this year I'm in Akrotiri, a very ambitious project where I'm very happy right now.
Cypriot football's having a moment too with the Champions League. Munir, let me ask you about the education part. Were you able to finish your degree while you were here?
Of course, that was very important as well. Even if, like I said, my main goal was the football, I think the school part was very, very important for me and my family. So yes, I had my master. I did an MBA in sport management. Wow. That I had and that I was very happy to do. It was great as well. So that's why I'm happy as well, because I have this on the side, like whenever football will be finished, I know that I have that on the side that can help me to go to the next step of my life, so that was great as well. I'm thankful as well. I said it, but I'm thankful as well for the opportunity that Tiffin University give me. And the program is going very well right now, winning 4 in a row, 4 league in a row. So I'm very happy for them.
What a wonderful thing this sport is, to bring you from France to Ohio to Michigan to Kansas City to Andorra, and then where you are in Cyprus as a professional footballer. One of the stories from the interview we did 5 years ago about when I asked you the difference between French football and Americans, you were saying there's no ties in the United States, and it's always everyone's going for the goal no matter at what cost.
Exactly. That was I remember saying this, but that's true. That is one of the main difference. In the US, you don't want to hear about tie game. You go for the win till the buzzer. In France, you don't have the buzzer beater. In college, you have the minutes going on, and you know that 2 minutes left. Okay, let's do a long throw and try to hit it because they cannot come back. It's finished after. So this kind of things is different.
Well, Munir, thank you so much for sharing this experience. It's definitely great to hear this side of it. You don't necessarily hear the international perspectives in that kind of detail. All right. Thank you so much to Munir Tarfa for joining myself and Jason Davis last week. Give us a perspective from the international side of the college format debate, and that full interview, including an additional interview with Munir's teammate, his name Kevin Oliveira, who actually spent some time in the pros as well. When we post that on the Morning Kickaround channel, and we'll make that early access to Morning Kickaround channel members. The MK Ultras will get early access to that full interview with 2 players who had an experience in the United States, which benefited them going back overseas. All right, we got one more segment on the way. I am going to grill Mr. Dan Vaughn on the big question of the day: should USL follow suit and change to the Euro calendar? That on the big question on Morning Kickaround. All right, Major League Soccer last week voted to change the calendar to a Euro-centric late summer to spring calendar. Now, that leads me to the big question of the day: should the USL follow suit? They are the other big soccer entity, professional soccer entity in this country. They're taking on some big things like promotion, relegation, adding a first division. But with this change with MLS, should USL follow suit with MLS's calendar change? Dan?
Boy, just a light question, huh? Just an easy yes or no. Yeah, definitely. No, I think that there's a lot going on here, and it's bigger than just USL and how they fit into the overall soccer landscape in the United States. I think that there's a lot of reasons why MLS made that jump when it comes to alignment with other pro leagues in the world and how that affects transfers. Totally get that. The problem is, and I'm not the first person to say this, obviously, is that the weather in the United States during the winter can be pretty extreme in comparison to a lot of those European leagues in more temperate climates. And so because of that, there's the challenge. I mean, you see that all the time, the pictures of the snow games with snow covering the field and players out there running. That's not the most fun thing in the world. Now, you could say the USL is already testing this on the women's side, right? They've already got the USL Super League, which plays within that same calendar, playing in the fall-spring calendar. They have that break across the darkest parts of the winter in December and January. So there is a test balloon already up in the air for them. I see a couple of things that I guess I definitely think we should talk about or definitely include in this conversation, which is one, the Super League. We follow it. If you listen to our show, the Super Show, we talk about this all the time. But the gap across December and January is complicated for fans to negotiate, and it feels like for teams to negotiate so far. Now they've only been one so far because they've only played one season. We're coming towards that break already again in season 2. But the challenge is continuing the level of play that you did in the fall part of the season into the spring. And they've struggled with that. A team like Brooklyn FC, which was really great during the fall season, ended the season towards the top, went winless for the second half of the season. Without a win the entire second half of the season. They just dropped like a stone. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe could be other issues going on in the league, but the question is, how do you find continuity across that big gap in the middle of your season, which almost certainly you have to build in to protect your players' health and also, I mean, I don't know how many people want to go see a soccer match and sit in the snow. The second part that I would say is I find it interesting that USL would even consider this, given how much they've worked to align themselves, both in branding and interconnectivity between between their 3 leagues. USL obviously has a championship. They're going to launch a Division 1 very soon. There's a USL League 1 underneath of that championship, but there's also a massive, and we've talked about them today, USL League 2 system, which is their amateur system. I get that there's a lot of conversations about changes to amateur soccer and how that's going to play out in college soccer, but we don't really know how they're going to play out just yet. But amateur soccer is built around college players. If you try to change around the format of how USL seasons stack up, it may create a sort of a shift within what USL has done so far, which is basically to try to brand and align their league so it feels like a pyramid. That's on purpose. They've done that on purpose. And USL League 2, though it is amateur, is part of that branding. It's part of that pyramid. If you shift your seasons for all your pro leagues, but you don't for your amateur league, I feel like at least stylistically, at least branding wise, you've created a really significant gap within your system that you've worked so hard to align. And that feels complicated. USL League 2 depends on college soccer players to fill their rosters. You need them. Their free time is in the spring. That's when they can play. And even now, the reason why so many of those amateur leagues have very short seasons is because they lose those college players towards the end of the season. It becomes complicated on how to fill a roster going into a playoff spot. So I think there's a lot going on here, Robert. I hope I answered your question with just a lot more questions.
Yeah, questions beget questions for sure, and especially if we're into this world, the MLS calendar shift news is very new, and so I think that analyzing this from a pros and cons sort of a perspective is good. I mean, zooming out for a second, I mean, both USL and Major League Soccer both announcing huge changes in their structure in the year 2025. USL opening up the first division in the future and the promotion relegation system, and then MLS changing the calendar. All you could argue is a way to capture more soccer eyeballs. You know, I think there's an awareness in the powers that be that there's a lot of soccer fans and not necessarily a lot of domestic soccer fans at the present. So what is the pros and the cons? What would the potential pros be for the USL to change the Euro calendar? So I'm also, the Women's Super League throws a weird gamut in it. It's like, is that the pilot or an exception to what they're going to do? But so the main pro of the calendar change for Major League Soccer is aligning with the international calendar so they can have more business coming and going. Okay, so I guess does that big advantage that MLS is seeking with the international calendar change, with the being able to buy and sell more, does that have enough impact on the USL to be an upside?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's pressure, right, that MLS is putting on USL to make this jump as well. And I think you're right. I think what is interesting is that we're seeing MLS and NWSL react a bit to what they're seeing in USL. I think there's competition. I think they see the USL system as a little bit of a threat, and I think MLS is looking for something to set themselves apart from USL system, particularly with USL coming with a Division One side or Division One league. I think that's what you're seeing this change for. MLS has been sort of calcitrant about this change, had stuck to that calendar for 25 years as a league, being on a different calendar than the rest of the world. Why the change now? It feels obvious. It's because of the pressure from USL. We've seen changes in the NWSL because of what the USL Super League has done as far as how rosters are built and how players can move. That is interesting. And I feel like that's why this change is coming. Does USL follow suit? I don't know. I think that more than likely, I say yes. That's probably what they end up doing because it feels like it's how you become a top tier league, right? This is what all these leagues are looking for, to try to prove that they can hang with the big boys. I don't know that they can just yet, or big girls, obviously. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
So, okay. So as of now, this is all speculative. USL playing on the traditional calendar makes them a little bit different from Major League Soccer. They will now be the soccer league that is on TV and in the stadiums in the months of June or late June, July, and early August. Is that enough to stick with it? I mean, right up as of now, most internationals that are playing in USL are more on this side of the hemisphere. I mean, obviously there's some exceptions. There's some Europeans there, but most of them are Caribbean or, like I said, this hemisphere. And so that international calendar at the moment isn't super restrictive. And you wouldn't say that USL is so deep in the market that, that's the difference between success and not, is being able to easily transfer players from Europe as of now.
Right.
But
that's
maybe
what I was
down
say.
because especially if like the first division gets on its legs, then if the money, and if it is on a first division sort of a commercial level, then you'd think that maybe being on the different calendar might affect them then. But at the same,
by the way, Rob, before I just want to say, can we shout out Chris Huey Cord's comment, which I thought was hilarious? Quickly buy stock in orange balls. That's a great comment right there. We need to see more orange balls, especially in the snow. I saw that. I chuckled to myself. That's a great comment.
Yeah, definitely. And Chris definitely doing his thing in the comments. He's always got something good for us. But I mean, okay, so the pros would essentially be the same things as Major League Soccer, but maybe in the future. But are folks, I mean, the same problems come with that as well. There's the weather problems and everything else. Could there be any more pitfalls? Like, is there greater cons beyond what Major League Soccer might face by going to a European calendar?
I mean, I think that you highlighted the big one, right? Weather is the thing that always concerns, particularly, when you get up on the East Coast or in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, the winters are, man, even in the Midwest, the winters are significant. I do think that as I talked about with the alignment, I think that creates problems for amateur leagues. And while MLS may not care much about amateur soccer, USL, at least on paper, is supposed to care about that. So maybe this is something, maybe there are more mechanisms going on here with the changes that may be coming for college soccer and how that plays a role in this. I'm kind of curious. I would suspect that the people at these table making these decisions probably have more insight and more knowledge than you and I have, unfortunately. And so I definitely feels like that could be something that maybe there's a workaround that's coming, and we just don't know how that works out.
Yeah, I'm curious. I really am curious to see how this all plays out, and I wonder how it feels in the halls of power at USL. Like, they've been on the forefront as far as like announcements of new things, getting people in different cities excited that soccer might be coming to them, or if they're an amateur team that they might be able to step up to the pro level. And then the elephant in the room that they're competing with, but not competing with full-throatedly just yet, has done this seismic change. do you throw like a third giant change into your process here? You'd think that if they did it, you think they'd have to hold off until after Pro Rel is like on its feet, you'd think. I'm just kind of spitballing here as to kind of what that would be like. I mean, there's obviously they play through the summer now, same adverse, I guess they're facing the same circumstances as Major League Soccer, but the scale of money coming back and forth and the transfer market isn't quite as, I guess, big. The volume of the numbers isn't as big, so the impact probably won't be as big. It's curious to see how that'll all happen.
Oh, there's a reason why it's the big question, right? Because it is the big question. We don't.
It's open-ended
really know.
At this point.
It really is, and all of these leagues are making gambles about the future and trying to predict how things are going to shape out. And when you play in the United States, particularly across the winter, you're competing against the NFL, and that is the big monster that you're competing against when it comes to, as those matches move into the fall, there's people fighting for those TV dollars. MLS is looking for that. Obviously, they've got their deal with Apple, but USL is really expanding out into the professional, the broadcasting market and hoping to gain a foothold there. Do they become the canary in the coal mine that to test how this works out? I don't know. I think that, like we said, it's a big question. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts. And let's not forget, they're going to be competing against the other big leagues in the country, which gobble up huge market shares. I definitely think, and I sort of hinted or sort of tossed it towards this, the Super League needs to find you mentioned that particularly they're the test market, and they need to find a way to how they're going to negotiate this big gap in the winter. And I do think that maybe taking an approach like we see in Liga MX, where you actually play a fall and spring season to kind of break those seasons apart and create champions for both and then play into a final championship. I like that. The problem is it kind of messes up your playoff system. Unless you're going to run a playoff in both halves, which would be, again, really interesting to see how that would work out as far as how it would fit into your calendar and the challenges that would face. But there's a lot going on here. I think there's people smarter than us that are working on this. At least I would hope so.
Yeah, that's where we are for many different issues with Soccer United States. Is fingers crossed that the people in power are putting some work in and having thoughts on this. And granted, the bar was low, but I was happy to see the white paper for college acknowledging the fact that, it's not college soccer world and infrastructure isn't being utilized to its most. So acknowledgement of that. And then I saw some reporting that this calendar change for Major League Soccer was in the works for a long time. And I always thought it was like, if they were ever going to do it at the World Cup year, right?
Right.
Because there's already going to be, a pause in action. But apparently this was in those conversations for a long time, but getting everyone on board took so long that, 2026 wasn't possible for the change. So in those conversations or those back rooms, those boards of power, those tables with the leather chairs going all the way around it, they are aware of the major problems and quirks that throttle or limit the throttle of American soccer, but it's just slow to progress. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, I think there's also one more part of this, which is the CBA that these players play under.
Of course. Is
what role will players have in shaping this future? Does this shifting calendar, how does it impact those negotiations? The risks that they might be taking on playing in cold weather, muscle pulls and danger to your body can become elevated within harsher conditions. And it's certainly something that they should have a say in this, as they're the ones doing the actual work on the field.
Yeah, and at last, I've been DMing with the USL Players Union, and last update from them, they met last week on Wednesday, and as of whoever is the admin for USL Players online, the ball sits in the league's club's court waiting for responses from them. And I mean, that's a huge part of this whole thing. All of these initiatives that USL is taking on board, you hope that the players get a better seat at the table, for lack of
for
better
sure.
words. But that looks like it's the end of the day today for us. Dan, thank you so much for filling in for Jason. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. And be sure, if you like the content, subscribe. And a step farther, an MK Ultra $3.99 a month gets you all sorts of perks, including the interview we played halfway through. The full segment will be exclusive to members first before opening it up to everybody. And then we can discuss all of these topics further in the Morning Kickaround Discord server. But Dan, before you go, please share with the listeners kind of the latest pieces you have on Protagonist.
At Protagonist Soccer, we've been working a lot, protagonistsoccer.com, working a lot to highlight lower league soccer. I know right now, currently, amateur soccer is, for the most part, not being played, at least in the national leagues, because we're moving into winter, obviously. But we've been highlighting some of the teams. Our Who Are You series has been highlighting teams from across the country, giving them an opportunity to tell their stories. And that's something that we'll be doing there. If you like hearing me talk, we do a lot of that on the Protagonist Soccer, Protagonist podcast feed. That's pretty much anywhere where you get soccer. We've got our podcast there. We've been doing an amazing series, which your co-host, Jason Davis, was on just recently, America's Greatest, where we have a guest on to talk about their most interesting, most favorite match from American soccer history. Jason got on to talk a little bit about a match that he thought was important. You can check that out on our feed. It's a good listen for sure.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you for your time. Very early, I know, for you on Mountain Time, so I especially thank you so much. It's early for me, and it's only 9:30, so prayers and thanks to you for being up early and hanging with us and being on Morning Kickaround. Thank you, viewer. Once again, thank you, members. And until Wednesday, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.